When my parents threw me out of the house, my wealthy uncle taught me how to run his company. 15 years later, my mother showed up at his will to collect hundreds of thousands of dollars. She laughed when she saw me, but when the lawyer called me the new owner of the company, the whole room went silent. The night my parents threw my duffel bag onto the front porch, my Uncle Daniel's black Lincoln pulled into the driveway. 15 years later, in a law office in Scottsdale, my mother laughed when she saw me, and 5 minutes later the room was so quiet I could hear the wall clock ticking. That morning I was wearing a navy blue suit. Not especially expensive. Not soft either. Just clean and plain. The reception area of the law office smelled faintly like coffee, but the cup sitting in front of me had already gone cold. My mother, Linda, was sitting there in a cream-colored blazer. My father, Robert, was beside her, and my younger brother Tyler was there too. My mother looked me up and down, tightened her mouth and laughed. "What are you doing here?" she said. "Did they invite Daniel's staff now too?" I just looked at her. Then I sat down. I put my phone on silent and placed it face down on the table. Tyler leaned back in his chair and bounced one leg. His shoes were new. Probably bought on borrowed money. Then the lawyer, Mr. Allen, came in. Everyone stood up. I did too. Then we all sat back down. Files were opened. 2 minutes passed in formal conversation. After that, he adjusted his glasses on his nose and said, "Before we address the estate, I need to confirm that the ownership transition of Mercer Industrial Supply has already taken effect. As of this morning, Ms. Claire Mercer Bennett is the sole controlling owner and acting president." The room went completely still. My mother did not understand right away. The laugh on her face stopped halfway. Then her handbag slipped out of her hand and landed on the carpet. My father sat up straight and looked at me as if he were seeing me for the first time. Tyler only got out one word. "What?" I did not say anything. I simply folded my fingers together and kept my breathing steady. That was what I wanted. Let the documents speak. Not me. I was 24 when all of it started. We lived in Mesa, Arizona, in a neat but worn-down suburb where every lawn looked almost the same and every other garage had either an SUV or an old pickup truck parked inside. My father worked as an insurance adjuster. My mother worked part-time at a real estate office, but she carried herself like she was important full-time. Tyler was the youngest, and in that house he always lived by a different set of rules. At the time, I was studying accounting at community college and working evening shifts at Target. My life was not big. I had a gray Corolla that shook twice before it started. I was always a little low on gas. I brought my lunch from home because eating out cost too much. But I had one thing our house did not have enough of. Straight numbers. Clear math. Honest accounting. The whole thing started with a stack of papers. Refinance papers. My mother placed them in front of me on the kitchen island. That night we had meatloaf and there were dishes sitting in the sink. She used a casual voice when she said, "Just sign it. It's for the family." I opened the papers. They were taking out a second loan on the house, but my name had been added as a borrower too. My credit history was clean. Theirs was not. The money was supposed to go toward Tyler's business, which was really a sloppy mix of supplements, gym equipment, and a truck payment he had no business taking on. I said, "I'm not signing this." My mother seemed to think I was just nervous. She pulled out a chair and sat next to me. "It's for your brother." I said, "It's debt for me." My father stayed quiet. He turned the TV volume down, but he did not say a word. Tyler opened the fridge, grabbed a soda, and stood there like all of this had already been decided. Then my mother's voice changed. "We raised you. You can't give one signature." I looked at the papers again. The interest rate was stupid. The terms were worse. I said, "No." After that, everything happened fast, but not in a messy way. In a precise way. My mother stood up. She gathered the papers. She called me selfish. Then ungrateful. Then she said if I did not trust my family, she did not know why I was living in that house at all. I thought she was just angry. I picked up my mug, set it in the sink, and said I was going upstairs. 15 minutes later, my duffel bag was on the porch. My mother had opened my bedroom door and started throwing things inside it. Underwear. Jeans. A hoodie. My accounting textbook. Even a framed photo had fallen and hit the floor and the corner cracked. My father zipped the bag, carried it to the porch, and did not quite shut the door in my face. He just left it half open. That was his way. Never fully taking responsibility for anything. Right then, headlights swept into the driveway. It was my Uncle Daniel. He was my mother's older brother. He was wealthy but not the showy kind. He had a company, warehouses, trucks, and a habit of paying attention to everything himself. At family dinners he talked less than everyone else and listened more. My mother liked him best when he was writing checks. He had not actually come there because of me. A week earlier, I had sent him an email asking if there might be a part-time bookkeeping position at his company. He had replied with only one line, "Come by Friday. 7:30 a.m. Don't be late." That Friday was now. He looked at my bag on the porch. Then he looked at me. Then at the half-open front door. "Ready?" he asked. I said, "Maybe." He opened the trunk. Put the bag in. That was it. No hug. No speech. No long emotional moment. I got into his car and did not look back. Even if I had wanted to, I do not think I would have. Outside the windshield, the yellow streetlights on our block slipped behind us one by one. I spent the next 6 months in his guest room. It was a simple room. White walls. One lamp. One dresser. The bathroom always smelled like eucalyptus soap. On the first day he gave me one rule. "I'm not here to rescue you," he said. "I'll give you work. The rest is on you." I told him, okay. Mercer Industrial Supply was on the industrial side of Phoenix. Steel fittings. HVAC parts. Commercial hardware. That kind of thing. At first I sat in accounts receivable. I made calls about overdue invoices. I posted checks. Then I learned purchase orders. Vendor disputes. Payroll backup. In the afternoons I went out to the warehouse floor and learned inventory counts. They did not have steel-toe boots in my size at first, so I wore thick socks and made it work. When I got my first pay stub I sat with it in my hands for a long time that night. It was not a lot of money. But it was mine. Uncle Daniel was strict. If I was 5 minutes late he noticed. If I misplaced a comma in a number he circled it in red pen. But he was fair. One time he said, "You don't run a business on feelings. You run it on paperwork." Then a little later, more quietly, he added, "Family sometimes needs paperwork too. Remember that." Slowly I started to understand that he was not saying that for no reason. Growing up, my mother knew how to build a nice picture. Thanksgiving tables. Christmas cards. Church fundraisers. Facebook captions. Everything looked right from the outside. Inside was different. Bills would be late, but she would show up with a new handbag. Tyler's mistakes always turned into someone else's failure to support him. If I brought home a good report card she would say, "Good, that's what you're supposed to do." If Tyler scratched someone's car in a parking lot she would say, "He's just figuring life out." One day Uncle Daniel showed me an old ledger. Years of handwritten loans. $8,000. Then $12,500. Then $4,200. Sometimes my father's name was on the borrower line. Sometimes my mother's. The repayment line was usually blank. He closed the ledger and said, "Your mother has always believed family and access are the same thing. They are not." I did not say anything. I already knew. After I left home my mother sent 3 texts in the first week. I did not answer. Then the 4th came. "If you had signed, none of this would have happened." The 5th said, "Don't come to Thanksgiving if this is your attitude." The 6th came in the family group chat with a picture of turkey and pies. I was sitting outside the warehouse eating a ham sandwich when I saw it. I locked my phone. The sandwich was dry but I was hungry so I finished it anyway. The years passed. I finished my degree. Then I became assistant controller. Then operations manager. Then I got my own apartment. Later I bought a small townhome. The Corolla was gone, replaced by a used Honda. My closet was still mostly full of dark clothes. I never cared much about shopping. I liked numbers. I liked systems. I liked things that were clean and clear. I also learned that running a company was not just invoices and margins. It was people too. A warehouse supervisor's back surgery. A driver's divorce papers. Delayed shipments from a vendor. Bank covenants. Insurance renewals. I learned to look in every direction before I made decisions. I stopped assuming anything important would explain itself. During all that time my parents only showed up when they wanted something. A gift card at Christmas. Help with Tyler's legal fees. My mother's temporary cash flow issue. One time I sent $500. After that, Uncle Daniel called me into his office and said, "Set a boundary. If you don't, one will get set for you and you won't like it." That was the day I decided I was done being anyone's emergency ATM. I changed my answer. Talk to my attorney for any financial request. At the time, I did not even have an attorney. Then I hired one. That was how the revenge began. Not loud. Not dramatic. Clean. Pulled. When Uncle Daniel's heart condition got worse, the family started drifting close again. Suddenly there were calls. My mother showed up with Sunday brunch. Costco muffins. Fake softness. Stories about old family memories. Tyler asked for a warehouse tour once, like he had suddenly developed a deep interest in industrial supply. My father told my uncle that family legacy should stay in the family. After that meeting, Uncle Daniel looked at me once across the room. That was enough. I understood. He had heard everything. He was collecting all of it. And he had already made up his mind. One evening he called me into his office. The blinds were half shut. Legal folders were spread across the desk. He said, "I don't want to sell the company. And I don't want to give it to them." I stayed quiet. Then he said, "You earned your place here. I didn't hand it to you. Do you understand the difference?" I said, "Yes." He explained the ownership structure. Trust, transfer documents, voting control, estate planning. Most of the company had already been moved into my name while he was still alive, but the public filings had been delayed on purpose. The rest of the transition would activate when he died. There were other assets in the estate, but the company, the real thing, was going to be mine. I asked him, "Why didn't you tell them?" He said, "Because they mistake information for relationship." I signed the papers. My hand did not shake. But afterward I sat in my car in the parking lot for a long time. The air conditioning was running, but my hands were cold. It was not happiness. It was weight. Heavy. Solid. Real. After my uncle died, my mother started crying on the first phone call. On the second call, she asked who had chosen the funeral flowers. On the third, she said, "We need to sit down and discuss the inheritance." On the fourth, she asked when the Scottsdale house was going on the market. Every single time I gave the same answer. Friday, 10 a.m. Mr. Allen's office. After the funeral, I did not change the company locks. I changed the alarm codes. There was a difference. I told the accounting team that every expense request had to be documented. Every archived family loan file had to be scanned. Every communication from family had to go through counsel. I did not invite a fight. I just closed the doors and lined up the receipts. And then that morning arrived. Mr. Allen read the rest of the will. My mother received a few personal items. An antique watch. 2 paintings. Then there was one line that changed her face. Any prior family loans not repaid are deemed satisfied during my lifetime and create no further claim against my estate. It was legal language, but the meaning was simple. You already took what you were going to take. Tyler cut in and said, "This is insane." She manipulated him. For the first time I spoke. "No. I worked." My mother looked at me as if I had slapped her. "You. The company." I said, "For 15 years. Those were 15 years of my life, and she had not even known. That was the real thing. Not the inheritance. Not the money. The ignorance." The meeting ended and they hurried out. At the door, my mother turned and said, "You think you're above your family?" I answered, "No. I just believe in contracts." She wanted to say more, but the lawyer was standing near the door and there were 2 associates in the hallway. She decided to stay quiet. It was the first smart decision I had ever seen her make. I am 41 now. I get to the office at 7 every morning. I still walk the warehouse floor. I still review the quarterly numbers myself. Sometimes I eat lunch at my desk. Sometimes I stand by the truck bay and eat there. In my desk drawer I keep an old keychain from the house I was thrown out of. The key itself is gone. Only the cheap blue rubber tag is left, the one that once had our address written on it. I never threw it away. I just kept it. My mother tried contacting me 2 more times. Once with a Christmas card. Once with a text that said, "Life is short." My attorney answered both. Sometimes in the evening when the office is empty, I sit for a few minutes in Uncle Daniel's old office. The desk is mine now. The lamp is the same. The blinds are the same. Outside, the trucks are lined up in the parking lot. I sit there and listen to the wall clock ticking. Then I open the next file. So, they threw me out of the house. My uncle did not give me a place. He gave me work. I built the rest myself. And the day my mother came expecting to collect hundreds of thousands of dollars, she got the first honest accounting of her life. If this story stayed with you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories like this to life. Thank you so much for watching all the way through, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.